It's 4:53 a.m. and I've been laying in bed scrolling through my book on my phone in my iCloud drive. Scrolling through stories that I've written over the years that I'm now pulling from to share some of these stories here on this page. And I was supposed to go to sleep a long time ago, but just looking for content ideas. And I came across a story in one of the chapters about trying to change people. And this particular story is about a best friend of mine who kind of distanced himself after us being friends for a year and him moving away. And in my story, I recounted, I think it was the last time that we hung out, or one of the last times. And we had a conversation, funny enough, inside of a bar, a loud, packed bar. It wasn't that loud, but there were plenty of people there. And I had not remembered that conversation, especially not the details of it, until just now reading that story. And I'm so glad that I wrote about this. I'm so glad that I have so many written stories, because I never would have recalled that conversation. And between that conversation and how our friendship kind of devolved after that, and reading how I felt about that at that time, the disappointment and how disheartening it was to go from two peas in a pod to barely keeping in touch. And not being able to process the conversation we had in that bar until days later, but never getting the opportunity to discuss what I processed with him. And the fact that he's now in a cemetery in St. Louis. That's really me up right now. Oh man. I had so much love for my friend, and the reason that we stopped speaking, at least on my part, was that I had told him in a text message that basically I was really annoyed with the disjointed way that he was communicating with me. He had always been like someone who responded slowly to text messages, so that was always the norm. But I just felt like after he moved away, he just kind of ghosted the whole friendship. And in that conversation at the bar, he explained that, like, he needed a change of scenery. He needed to be closer to family. He needed to better himself. He needed to become a better man. And I really appreciated that. And I understood needing to be with family as someone who was living 10 hours away from my own family. There was more to that conversation that reading that tonight, or this morning, I should say, just really shook me to my core. And I just really hate that I never got a chance to talk to him about how I felt about that conversation. And it wasn't until his funeral, which I attended back in July or August, I think it was July, that I learned a little bit more about what he had been up to, what he was doing with his life, and I simultaneously felt really happy for what he had done and achieved, and also saddened that I didn't get to celebrate those things with him. I didn't get to tell him I was proud of him for doing those things, and didn't get to encourage him in those things. I don't know. I just wish it had not ended that way, with me saying a final goodbye to him in a church, in a box. Gosh. Oh, I just wish that there was some kind of opportunity for, I don't know if closure's the right word, but, just being able to part ways on a good note, or just continue to keep in touch in a way that was meaningful and a healthy friendship for both of us. Anyway, I really need to go to sleep, but coming across that story and reading the details and what we talked about and how I felt and what transpired afterward, it just really shook me. All right, that's enough talking.